No one understood the Korean millionaire until the poor cleaning lady did, and she gave him coffee with cinnamon. That's when an unlikely love story began. Before we start, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. The front doors of the lobby opened and Ji-yu walked in, followed only by his driver. Bruno, the manager, was behind the counter and nearly choked on his own breath. "He's here," he whispered to the receptionists, already sweating. "Where's the translator?" No one answered. One of them glanced at the clock and mumbled, "He's not here yet, sir." Bruno went pale. "What do you mean, not here yet? That man doesn't even speak English. Do I need to draw pictures for you?" Ji-yu reached the counter and said something in Korean, his expression serious. The staff looked at each other, completely lost. "What did he say?" Bruno asked. I don't know," one receptionist whispered. Ji-yu repeated himself, this time with more firmness. Bruno pulled out a translation app on his phone, but the robotic voice said something that made no sense. Ji-yu frowned, clearly irritated, and raised his voice. "Oh my God," Bruno muttered, wiping his face. "He's upset. I'm going to lose my job because of you people." Right then, Maya was pushing her cleaning cart through the lobby. She glanced over and saw everyone frozen in panic, not understanding a word, while Ji-yu kept speaking in a language no one else knew. But she understood him perfectly. He was asking for coffee. Without thinking twice, she walked over to the machine in the corner. Bruno was still barking out orders and didn't even notice. Maya made the coffee, added a bit of cinnamon and a touch of honey. While everyone was still trying to figure out what to do, she walked up to Ji-yu with the cup in her hands and said in Korean, "Good morning, sir. I brought you your coffee, and I took the liberty of adding a bit of cinnamon and a little honey to sweeten your day." The whole lobby froze. One of the receptionists dropped their pen. Bruno's eyes widened like he'd seen a ghost. Ji-yu stopped and stared at Maya for a few seconds, then suddenly his expression softened. He took the coffee with both hands, took a sip, and let out a satisfied, Then, still speaking in Korean, he asked, "You speak my language fluently?" Maya smiled. "Enough to understand you were asking for coffee." Bruno finally moved and came over to her. "Maya, since when do you speak Korean?" "Since I started watching Korean dramas and studying on my own. Why?" Ji-yu let out a small laugh, something no one expected to hear anytime soon. He looked at Bruno, then at Maya, and said calmly, "I want her to come with me and be my interpreter." Bruno turned to Maya. "What did he just say now?" Still in disbelief, Maya replied, "He wants me to go with him and be his interpreter." Bruno blinked several times, stunned. "What? She's just the cleaning lady." Ji-yu was already heading toward the elevator, leaving everyone speechless. Maya stood still for a moment until Ji-yu motioned for her to follow him. Before she could think too much, she left her cart behind and walked after him, with no idea what she was getting into. As the elevator doors were closing, Ji-yu said something in Korean that made Maya's eyes widen. He had just said, "And I want to have coffee with you every day while I'm here." The elevator opened on the top floor, and Maya felt her stomach turn, not just from the ride, but from the completely surreal situation she was in. There she was in her plain cleaning uniform, standing next to one of the richest men in Asia who had just told her he wanted to have coffee with her every day. "Mr. Ji-yu?" Maya began, trying to find the right words in Korean. "I can't accept being your interpreter. I'm just a cleaning lady. I'm not qualified for that." Ji-yu stopped in front of the door to the presidential suite and turned to her, his expression serious but kind. "Maya, I'm speaking my language better than anyone else at this resort, and more importantly, you were the only one who cared enough to understand me while everyone else was panicking." "But, sir, I have no experience with business, no idea about contracts, or, how to listen," Ji-yu interrupted, swiping his card at the door. "And that's more valuable than any degree." Maya nervously fidgeted with her hands, still holding the cleaning rag she had forgotten to put down. I am really not sure I can do this," she murmured, more to herself than to him. Ji-yu stepped closer and spoke firmly, but without sounding bossy. "Maya, I'm asking for your help. You saved me from a very awkward situation downstairs. Now I need someone I can trust." There was something in his voice that touched her. It wasn't arrogance or superiority, but a genuine honesty she didn't expect from someone in his position. "All right," she finally said with a sigh, "in one condition." Ji-yu raised his eyebrows, curious. "If I make a mistake, you tell me right away. I don't want you to be polite just to spare my feelings." A small smile appeared on Ji-yu's face. "Deal." The next day, Maya could hardly believe the transformation. She stood in front of the mirror in the women's locker room, wearing an elegant business outfit that had been delivered to her home the night before, along with new shoes and a temporary badge that read, "International Communications Assistant." "Oh my goodness," she whispered to the mirror. "Who is this person?" The fabric was soft and high quality, nothing she had ever worn before. The blazer fit her shoulders perfectly, and the skirt was the ideal length. Even the shoes, which she feared would be uncomfortable, felt like they had been made for her. When she arrived at the front desk, every employee turned to look at her. Bruno almost spilled his coffee when he saw her. "Maya?" he asked, blinking several times. "Is that really you?" "Good morning, Bruno," she replied, trying to hide her nervousness. "Where's Mr. G... Who?" "He's in the meeting room, waiting for you," Bruno stammered, still processing the transformation. Maya walked through the resort's hallways with a mix of nerves and excitement. Staff who had barely acknowledged her before now watched her with curiosity, and in some cases, a hint of envy. She found Ju in the meeting room, looking over some documents. When he saw her, his face lit up with a genuine smile. "Perfect," he said in Korean. "You look like a true professional." Maya felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. "Thank you for the clothes. They must have cost a fortune." "Don't worry about that," Ju said with a dismissive wave. "Now, I need you to help me understand a few things about this resort." Over the next 2 hours, Ju asked questions that seemed simple at first, but Maya could tell there was a sharp mind behind each one. "How long have you been working here?" he asked as they sipped coffee on the suite's balcony. 2 years, Maya replied. "I started right after finishing high school." "And how would you describe the work environment?" Maya hesitated for a moment. The question sounded harmless, but she felt there was something deeper behind it. "Well, it depends. For the guests, everything is perfect. For the staff, things can be a bit complicated sometimes." "Complicated how?" Maya's honesty began to outweigh her caution. "Bruno, the manager, sometimes treats the staff like we're invisible, and there's a very strict hierarchy here. Housekeeping staff rarely get promoted no matter how capable they are." Ju nodded, making a few discreet notes. "And what about management? Do you think the resort is well run?" Maya took a sip of coffee, thinking about her answer. "Financially, I think it's doing well. We always have important guests like you, but..." She stopped, wondering if she should go on. But Ju prompted. "Sometimes I get the impression that things are done too quickly without much research, like there's a rush to close deals." That made Ju look up from his notes and meet her eyes.
Interesting. You're very observant. Maybe it's because when you're cleaning places, you end up seeing things others don't, Maya said with a shrug. And what else have you seen? Maya realized she was talking too much, being too honest, but something about Ju made her feel comfortable sharing her thoughts. Well, for example, Bruno always gets nervous when important guests arrive. Not excited nervous, more like he's hiding something. Ju leaned forward slightly, clearly interested. And you think he's hiding something? I probably shouldn't say that. It's not professional for me to make assumptions about my boss. Maya, Ju said gently, your opinion matters to me. You know this place better than anyone. There was something in the way he said her name that made her heart beat just a little bit faster. The genuine attention he gave to her words was something she had never experienced before. Well, she continued, feeling oddly comfortable. Sometimes I overhear things I probably shouldn't, and I get the feeling that Bruno is rushing to close deals, like he doesn't want the investors to have enough time to really look things over. Ju took a few more notes, and Maya noticed he was taking her comments very seriously. You're incredibly smart, he said, and Maya felt a warmth rise up her neck. I just pay attention to things. That's a rare quality, Ju smiled. Most people only see what they want to see. The moment was interrupted when Ju's phone rang. He answered in Korean, and Maya could tell it was about a meeting that had been scheduled for later. After he hung up, Ju stood. I need to take care of a few things. Could you meet me at the admin office later? Of course, Maya replied, standing as well. As they walked back through the resort, Maya couldn't help but notice the way people were looking at them. It wasn't just curiosity, there was something different about the way Ju treated her. He walked beside her, not ahead. He held doors open for her. He asked her opinion about things others might think were unimportant. Can I ask you something? Maya said, as they waited for the elevator. Of course. Why do you trust me so much? You barely know me. Ju thought for a moment before answering. Sometimes, Maya, you can get a sense of someone's character in just a few minutes. The way you brought me that coffee yesterday, there was real kindness in that, and that's something you can't fake. The elevator arrived, and as they rode down, Maya felt a mix of emotions she couldn't quite define. There was gratitude, of course, but also something deeper, a connection she hadn't expected to feel. When they reached the ground floor, Maya said she needed to grab some documents from Bruno's office. Ju agreed to meet her later. As Maya headed down the hall toward the administrative area, she heard voices coming from Bruno's office. The door was slightly open, and she recognized his voice along with Roberto's, the financial manager. We need to get the Korean to sign this contract fast without digging too much, Bruno said, sounding rushed. But what if he finds out about the irregularities? Roberto asked. He won't, not if we don't give him time. That's why I hired the right interpreter. I just didn't expect that nosy cleaning lady to speak Korean. Now what? She can translate everything correctly. We'll have to take care of that, Bruno replied in a tone that sent chills down Maya's spine. One way or another. Maya quietly backed away from the door, her heart pounding. Her instincts had been right. Bruno really was hiding something, and now she and Ju were caught up in something much bigger and far more dangerous than they had imagined. Maya spent the rest of the morning trying to process what she had heard. Bruno's words kept echoing in her mind. We need to get the Korean to sign this contract fast without digging too much. She knew she had to tell Ju, but wasn't sure how to bring it up without sounding like she was making up stories about her boss. When Ju met her at the front desk around noon, she was still clearly tense. Are you okay? He asked in Korean, noticing the worried look on her face. Yes, Maya answered quickly, forcing a smile. Just thinking about a few things. Ju studied her for a moment, clearly sensing that something was bothering her, but chose.
The resort's restaurant was elegant, with tables arranged on a terrace offering a stunning view of the Pacific Ocean. Maya had never eaten there as a guest, only cleaned the tables after others had finished their meals. When they walked in together, the maitre d' almost choked in surprise, seeing Maya not as an employee but as Ju's guest. "A table for two, please," Ju said, and Maya translated for the maitre d'. "Of course, Mr. Han," he replied, still eyeing Maya curiously. "Right this way." They were led to a table in the corner with a perfect view of the ocean. Maya sat down stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. "Relax," Ju said, noticing how tense she was. "It's just lunch." "That's easy for you to say," Maya muttered. "You're not the one being watched by all your coworkers." Ju glanced around and saw that several employees were indeed watching them quietly. "You're right," he admitted, "but they'll get used to it. And technically, you're not just a cleaning lady anymore. You're my assistant." "Temporarily," Maya corrected him. "We'll see," Ju said, with a mysterious smile. The waiter brought the menus and Maya looked through hers nervously. The prices were sky high compared to what she was used to. "Order whatever you like," Ju said, noticing her hesitation. "It's all on me." "I can't let you pay for my lunch." "Maya," Ju said patiently, "you're working with me now. This is part of the job." After some convincing, Maya finally ordered a salad and a tropical fruit juice, while Ju chose grilled fish with vegetables. "So," Ju said once they were alone, "tell me more about yourself. How did you learn Korean so well?" Maya took a sip of water before answering. "I started watching Korean dramas when I was 16. At first, it was just for fun, but then I fell in love with the culture and the language." "And you studied on your own?" "Yes," Maya nodded. "Library books, online videos, free apps. We didn't have money for private lessons." Ju was impressed. That's really something. Korean is considered one of the hardest languages to learn. "Well, I had motivation," Maya said with a shy smile, "and time. After work, I studied for hours." "And your parents? Were they supportive?" Maya's smile faded a bit. "My mom works double shifts to support us. She's always been supportive, but she didn't have much time to follow my studies. And my dad, well, he hasn't been in our lives for a long time." Ju realized he had touched a sensitive topic and gently changed the subject. "So, what are your plans for the future?" "Honestly," Maya gave a short laugh, "I didn't have many plans beyond keeping my job and helping my mom. I never thought speaking Korean would be useful for work." "You should think bigger. Seriously, you have more potential than you realize." Before Maya could respond, the waiter arrived with their meals. The food was delicious, and little by little, Maya began to relax. The conversation flowed naturally, and she was surprised by how easy it was to talk to Ju. "Can I ask you something personal?" Maya asked after a while. "Of course. Why did you decide to invest in this resort? There must be hundreds of better options around the world." Ju chewed thoughtfully before answering. "My company is expanding into Latin America, and Mexico is strategic for us. But honestly, after meeting you and seeing how things really work around here, I'm starting to question whether this is the right partnership." Maya felt a knot in her stomach, remembering the conversation she had overheard. "What do you mean?" "Some of the numbers they showed me don't add up, and your comment about how eager they were to close the deal made me think." Maya knew this was the perfect moment to tell him what she had heard, but before she could say anything, her hand slipped as she reached for her juice glass. The red liquid flew straight at Ju, hitting his gray blazer dead center, a blazer that clearly cost more than Maya made in a year. "Oh my God," Maya cried, jumping to her feet. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." The whole restaurant turned to look. Maya was in a panic, trying to blot the stain with a napkin, only making it worse. "It's ruined," she said, nearly in tears. "I'll pay for a new one, I promise." Ju glanced at the stained blazer, then at Maya's panicked face, and did something completely unexpected. He started to laugh. It wasn't a polite or forced laugh, but a genuine, contagious one. "You're laughing?"
Maya asked in disbelief. "I just ruined a piece of clothing that probably costs more than my car." "Maya," he said, still laughing, "it's just a blazer. And honestly, this is the most genuine reaction I've gotten from anyone in years." "But no buts," Ju said, taking off the blazer and folding it calmly. "Most people get so nervous around me they can barely hold a glass. At least you have an excuse." Maya stared at him, still not believing his reaction. "You're not upset?" "On the contrary," Ju smiled. It was refreshing to see someone being genuinely human. The wave of relief Maya felt was so strong she nearly collapsed into her chair. "You're very different from what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone colder, more distant, more businesslike? Well, maybe you're meeting me at a different time in my life." There was something in the way he said that made Maya wonder exactly what he meant. When they finished lunch, they walked back to the front desk. Maya still felt embarrassed about the juice incident, but Ju seemed genuinely amused by the whole thing. "Seriously," she said for the 10th time, "I'll find a way to pay for a new blazer." "Maya," Ju said patiently, "forget the blazer. I have 20 just like it." When they reached the front desk, Bruno was standing beside a man Maya didn't recognize. The man was tall, thin, and visibly nervous. "Ah, Mr. Han," Bruno stepped forward quickly. "Allow me to introduce Carlos Mendoza, our official interpreter. He finally arrived." The man stepped forward and began speaking in Korean. "Mr. Han, I apologize for the delay. There was an issue with my flight, but I'm here now and ready to assist you with anything you need." Maya frowned. His accent sounded odd, and he had used an incorrect grammatical form. Ju replied politely.
"Interesting," Ju said in Korean, looking directly at Carlos. "Are you sure you understood our earlier conversation correctly?" Carlos hesitated, clearly at a loss. "Yes, of course. We talked about the contract." The pause and uncertainty were enough to confirm Ju's suspicions. "Maya," he said calmly, "I think we're going to need your help for longer than we thought." Bruno glanced between the three of them, clearly sensing something had gone wrong, but not quite understanding what. And Maya, noticing the tense look on Carlos's face and Bruno's poorly disguised panic, knew they had just uncovered the tip of a much bigger and more dangerous iceberg. "Well," Bruno said, forcing a smile, "how about we go to the meeting room to discuss the contract details? Carlos can translate everything properly now." Jiu nodded politely, but Maya could see in his eyes that he was in full investigation mode. They headed toward the meeting room with Bruno practically pushing Carlos ahead of them. Once inside, Bruno spread several documents across the table and began speaking quickly in Spanish, gesturing animatedly. "Carlos, please tell Mr. Fang Han we're very eager to finalize this deal. Explain that all the numbers are correct and there's no need for any additional audit." Carlos nodded and turned to Jiu, who was beginning to translate. "Mr. Hun, Manager Bruno says you expressed great interest in investing in the resort right away. He confirmed you've reviewed all the financial documents and are happy with the results." Maya felt anger rise in her chest. Carlos was completely making up the translation. Keeping a neutral expression, Jiu replied in Korean. "Interesting. I don't recall saying that. In fact, I'd like to review the financial documents from the past 3 years before making any decision." Carlos hesitated for a moment, clearly not fully understanding what Jiu had just said. Then he improvised. "He says there's no need to review anything else and he's ready to sign now." Bruno smiled broadly, but Maya couldn't hold back any longer. "That's not what he said," she interrupted in Portuguese, looking straight at Carlos. Everyone in the room turned to her. Bruno frowned. "Maya, you shouldn't interrupt." "He's lying."
Maya said firmly, then turned to Ju and repeated in Korean. Mr. Ju, this man is not translating your words correctly. You said you wanted to review the financial documents from the past 3 years, but he told them you were ready to sign now. Ju's face darkened slightly, and he looked straight at Carlos. Is that true? He asked in Korean. Carlos started sweating even more and stammered something incoherent. Bruno, realizing things were getting out of hand, tried to step in. Maya, I think there may have been a misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding, Ju said in Korean, turning to Maya. Please translate exactly what I'm about to say. Maya nodded and got ready to translate. Tell Mr. Bruno I'm very disappointed by the attempt to deceive me. Tell him I will not do business with people who use dishonest translators to manipulate conversations. Maya translated Ju's words and Bruno went pale. Mr. Han, please, there's been a misunderstanding. Ju kept his eyes on Carlos as he continued. I want it to be clear that I will not be signing any documents today, tomorrow, or any time soon. Not until I've had enough time to review everything with my own legal team. Maya translated again, and Bruno started to look desperate. Maya, tell this man. Ju pointed to Carlos. He is no longer welcome in this meeting. Tell him his services are no longer needed. Mr. Ju no longer requires your services, Maya told Carlos, who looked stunned. But I just got here. And now you're leaving, Maya replied flatly. Bruno tried to recover the situation. Mr. Han, perhaps we can find another interpreter. Ju responded directly to Maya in Korean. Tell him I already have an interpreter. I completely trust you. Maya felt a wave of emotion at the trust in his voice, but translated professionally. Mr. Han already has an interpreter he trusts. Carlos walked out of the room with his tail between his legs, and Bruno looked visibly shaken. Maybe we should reschedule this meeting for a time when Mr. Han feels more comfortable, Bruno suggested. Excellent idea, Maya translated Ju's reply. Mr. Han would like some time to properly review all the documents. When Bruno left the room, clearly defeated, Ju turned to Maya with a look of genuine gratitude. Thank you, he said.
That afternoon, Maya waited until Bruno left for an outside meeting before putting her plan into motion. She knew she had at most an hour before he returned. She knocked on the door to his office, and when there was no answer, she used her master key to enter. As a cleaner, she had access to nearly every area of the resort. Bruno's office was extremely tidy, almost obsessively so. Everything was in its place, which made Maya wonder if that was a way to control information. She started by looking through the most obvious files, but found only routine paperwork. Occupancy reports, supply orders, employee schedules, nothing suspicious. Then she noticed something odd. The back wall seemed shorter than it should have been, given the layout of the building. Maya took a closer look and found one of the wood panels slightly loose. When she pushed it, it revealed a small hidden compartment. Inside was a folder with documents that made her heart race. Alternate contracts with completely different numbers than the ones shown to Ju. Real financial reports showing the resort had actually been losing money for months. And even worse, proof that money was being diverted into personal accounts. But the most shocking document was a contract already filled out with Ju's forged signature, transferring a massive sum of money to an offshore account. Maya quickly took photos of everything with her phone, her hands trembling slightly. She was staring at proof of a large-scale fraud that could not only ruin Ju financially, but destroy the entire resort and all the jobs that depended on it. When she finished, she carefully put everything back where it was and closed the hidden compartment. As she stepped out of the office, she almost ran into Roberto walking down the hallway. "Maya,
he asked, frowning. "What were you doing in Bruno's office?" "Cleaning," she answered quickly, holding up the cleaning supplies she always carried. "He asked me to tidy up before tomorrow's meeting." Roberto studied her for a moment, clearly suspicious, but didn't say anything else. Maya forced a smile and kept walking, but she could feel his eyes on her back. When she got to the elevator, her legs were shaking. She had just uncovered something that could destroy many lives, including her own. Now she had to decide what to do with the information, and more importantly, she had to find a way to tell Ju without putting both of them in even more danger. As the elevator rose, Maya looked down at the photos on her phone. In her hands was the evidence that could save Ju from massive fraud. But she also knew that from that moment on, she and Ju were officially at war with people who would do anything to protect their secrets. The bond between them had been sealed, not just by mutual trust, but by the need to survive. And Maya had a feeling the worst was still to come. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept looking over the photos on her phone again and again. The documents she had found were even worse than she first thought. It wasn't just inflated numbers or minor issues. It was a well-organized fraud that had been going on for years. The resort was practically bankrupt, kept running only with money from new investors who were being tricked with fake reports. It was a pyramid scheme disguised as a legitimate business, and Ju would be just another victim if she didn't act. The next morning, Maya arrived at the resort, determined to tell Ju everything. She found him in the lobby, but her heart sunk when she saw he was surrounded by 3 men in suits, clearly other important investors. "Ju, I need to talk to you about something important when you have a moment." "Of course, maybe later. For now, let's take a tour of the facilities with these gentlemen." Maya greeted the men politely, but she could see that Ju was completely absorbed in business discussions. This wasn't the right moment to reveal the fraud. "Mr. Ju, I need to talk to you about something important when you have a moment." "Of course, maybe later. For now, let's kick a tour of the facilities with these gentlemen." Maya watched in frustration as Bruno appeared wearing a fake smile and led the group away. For the rest of the morning, Maya tried several times to get close to Ju, but he was constantly surrounded by the other investors. She noticed that Bruno was making sure Ju stayed busy. Around noon, Maya decided she couldn't wait any longer. She needed more evidence to strengthen her case, something undeniable, even for the other investors. She went back to Bruno's office, knowing he was busy with the tour. This time, she went straight to the hidden compartment, determined to find something even more concrete. And she did. She found a second set of accounting books, this one showing the real transactions, money being transferred into personal accounts, fake expenses being created, and even worse, proof that other investors had already fallen victim to the same scheme. Maya was taking photos of the documents when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Quickly, she closed the compartment and pretended to be cleaning Bruno's desk. "What are you doing here?" Roberto's voice sounded behind her. Maya turned, trying to look natural. "Cleaning," she answered, but Roberto didn't seem convinced. Bruno didn't ask for cleaning today. In fact,
Other employees began gathering at the doorway, drawn by the yelling. "I want you to empty your pockets," Bruno demanded, "and I want to see your phone." Panic surged through Maya. If they found the photos? "You have no right to go through my phone." "Yes, I do. If I suspect you've stolen confidential company information," Bruno said, holding out his hand. "Phone, now." I can't." "Roberto, call security," Bruno ordered. "We'll find out exactly what this thief was doing." "I'm not a thief," Maya protested. But she knew she was cornered. The resort's security arrived, and Maya knew that in minutes her cover would be blown. The photos on her phone would reveal everything. "You are fired," Bruno said coldly, "and I'll make sure you never work at any resort in Mexico again." "Please," Maya pleaded, "let me explain." "There's no explanation for theft," Bruno snapped. "Security, escort her out."
At that moment, Jiu appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. He quickly looked around, seeing Maya surrounded, Bruno furious, and a crowd of employees watching. "What's going on here?" he asked in Korean. Maya looked at him with desperation in her eyes. "Maya is being fired for theft," Bruno explained in English. "She was caught going through my office." Jiu looked directly at Maya. "Is that true?" Maya took a deep breath, knowing this was her only chance. "I was investigating because I found out you're being deceived. They're trying to steal your money," she said in Korean. Bruno, not understanding Korean, grew impatient. "What's she saying?" Jiu, who ignored Bruno completely, kept his eyes on Maya. "What kind of deception?" "Fake documents, false financial reports, forged signatures," Maya said quickly. "I have proof on my phone." Bruno tried to interrupt again. "Mr. Han, this employee is being fired for misconduct. Please don't concern yourself with..." Jiu, who turned to Bruno with a look that made everyone in the room take a step back, said in English, with absolute authority, "She stays, and I want to hear her side now." Bruno was speechless. "But, Mr. Han..." "Now," Jiu repeated, his voice sharp as a blade. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya could feel the strength and authority coming from Jiu, and for the first time, she truly understood what kind of man he was in the business world. Bruno, clearly realizing he had lost control of the situation, made one last attempt. "Mr. Han, with all due respect, this is an internal matter for the resort. Maya is my assistant, and any accusation against her concerns me directly." He looked around the room full of curious employees, everyone out except Maya and Bruno. There was no arguing with his tone. Within seconds, the room was empty, leaving just the three of them. Jiu turned to Maya. "Now," he said in Korean, "show me the proof." With slightly trembling hands, Maya took out her phone and began showing Jiu the photos. Bruno tried to move closer to see, but Jiu signaled him to stay where he was. "These are the real documents," Maya explained in Korean, flipping through the images. "The numbers they gave you are completely false. The resort's been losing money for months." Jiu studied each photo carefully, his expression growing darker with each image. "And this one?" he asked, pointing to a specific photo. "A contract already prepared with your forged signature," Maya answered, watching as Jiu clenched his fists. "They plan to use it to move the money without your actual approval." The silence in the room was heavy. Bruno didn't understand Korean, but he could clearly tell from Jiu's face that things weren't going his way. He started to sweat visibly. "Where did you find this?" Jiu asked. "In his office, in a hidden compartment behind the wall." Jiu finally turned to Bruno, who tried to force a nervous smile. "Mr. Han, whatever she told you..." "Maya," Jiu said in Korean, "translate exactly what I'm about to say." Maya nodded, ready for what was coming. "Tell him I know about the fake documents, the stolen money, and the contract with my forged signature." Maya translated word for word, and Bruno's face went white as a sheet. "Mr. Han, there must be some kind of misunderstanding." "Tell him there is no misunderstanding," Jiu continued, his voice cold as ice. "Tell him he has exactly 24 hours to prepare all the real documents, or I'll bring in the Mexican and Korean authorities to investigate." Maya translated, and Bruno began to stammer. But, Mr. Han, we can work this out." "Tell him our meeting is over," Jiu told Maya, "and that he can leave my office." "Your office?" Bruno asked. "Yes," Jiu answered in English, surprising both of them. "As of now, I'm taking over the investigation personally. This office is under my authority." Bruno tried to protest, but Ju's expression left no room for argument. He left the room like a wounded animal, clearly defeated, but still dangerous. When they were alone, Ju turned to Maya with a look of both gratitude and admiration. "You risked everything to protect me," he said in Korean. "I couldn't let them deceive you," Maya replied, still shaking a little from the adrenaline. "Not after seeing how much you trust people." Ju stepped closer to her, and Maya saw something different in his eyes. It wasn't just professional gratitude. It was something deeper, more personal. "Maya, do you realize what you just did?" he said softly. "You didn't just protect my investment. You may have saved many others from being tricked in the future." "I just did what was right." "No," Ju shook his head. "You did much more than that. You showed a kind of courage most people don't have." The moment was broken when Ju's phone rang. It was one of the other investors, and he had to take the call. Maya used the break to process everything that had just happened. When Ju finished the call, he looked at her with renewed determination. "I'm going to investigate this personally, but I'll need your help. You know this place better than anyone." "Of course, I'll do everything I can." "But for now," Ju glanced at the clock, "you need a break. It's been a long, intense day." Maya nodded, suddenly feeling emotionally drained. "Maya, just as you were about to leave," Ju said, "would you like to have dinner with me tonight in my suite?" The question caught her off guard. Why?" "Because I want to talk to you away from all this chaos. And because," he hesitated, "because I'd like to get to know you better, not just as my assistant, but as a person." Maya's heart skipped a beat. There was something in the way he said it that made her stomach turn with nerves. That wouldn't be appropriate." "Maya," Ju said gently, "after today, I think we've already gone far beyond what's considered appropriate in a typical work relationship." He wasn't wrong, and Maya knew it. "All right," she agreed, "but just dinner." "Just dinner." Ju smiled, and Maya felt something melt inside her chest.
At 8 that evening, Maya stood in front of Ji's suite, more nervous than she'd ever been in her life. She had changed clothes 3 times before finally settling on a simple but elegant dress she had bought after her first promotion at the resort. Ji opened the door wearing a casual shirt and dark pants, without his usual formal suit. He looked younger, more relaxed, and even more handsome. "You look beautiful," he said in Korean, and Maya felt her cheeks heat up. The suite had been transformed. The dining table was set with candles, flowers, and a stunning view of the ocean at sunset. It was romantic without being over the top, elegant without being intimidating. "This is... wow," Maya said, looking around. "I thought we deserved something special after the day we had," Ji said, pulling out a chair for her. Dinner was prepared by the resort's private chef, and Maya had never tasted food so delicious. But what impressed her most was the conversation. Away from work pressures, Ji was funny, thoughtful, and surprisingly humble. In Korea, my grandmother used to say, "You can see a person's true character in how they treat someone who has nothing to offer them." She sounds wise. She was. Ji smiled sadly. "She raised me after my parents died in a car accident. She was just a seamstress, but she taught me more about life and business than any university ever could." Maya felt a deep connection to his story. "My mom raised me on her own too," she shared, "and she also taught me that honest work means more than easy money." "Maybe that's why we understand each other so well," Ji said, pouring wine for both of them. As the evening went on, the conversation grew more personal. They laughed over childhood stories, shared dreams and fears, and Maya found herself forgetting completely about their different worlds. "Can I tell you something?"
Ju said as they stood on the balcony looking at the stars. Of course. When you spilled that juice on my blazer, it was the first time in years someone treated me like a normal person, not like a walking bank account. Well, technically I was mortified, and that's what made it so real. Ju smiled, stepping a little closer to her. The moment grew more intense. They were standing very close, looking into each other's eyes. Maya could feel his breath, the warmth of his body. "Maya," Ju whispered, gently touching her face. She knew he was about to kiss her, and for a moment, she wanted it more than anything. But then, reality hit her like cold water. "I can't," she said, stepping back abruptly. "I don't belong in your world, Ju." "Maya!" "No," she shook her head, grabbing her bag. "This is crazy. You're a billionaire. I'm a cleaning lady. A week from now, you'll be gone, and I'll just be someone you used to know." "That's not true." "It is," Maya said, walking toward the door. "And I can't let myself forget that." Ju tried to stop her, but she was already leaving. "Maya, please don't go like this." She paused at the door without turning around. "Thank you for dinner, Mr. Han. I'll see you tomorrow so we can continue our work." And with that, she left, leaving Ju standing alone on the balcony, staring at the stars and wondering how things had changed between them so quickly. Maya cried all the way home, knowing she had done the right thing, but feeling like she had just let go of something that could have changed her life forever. The next morning, Maya arrived at work determined to keep her distance from Ju. She had spent the entire night thinking about what almost happened on that balcony, and she knew she had to protect her heart before it was too late. When Ju greeted her at the front desk, she responded formally in Korean. "Good morning, Mr. Han. How can I assist you today?" The coldness in her voice was obvious, and Maya saw a shadow of pain pass through his eyes. "Maya, about last night. Mr. Han, I suggest we focus on work-related matters." Ju was silent for a moment, clearly frustrated. "All right, but we still need to talk about the investigation." "Of course. I'll be available during business hours." All morning, Maya avoided being alone with Ju. Whenever he tried to bring up personal matters, she steered the conversation towards professional topics. When he suggested having lunch together, she claimed she already had other plans. By the afternoon, Ju could no longer hide his frustration. "Maya," he said in Korean when he finally found a moment alone with her, "why are you avoiding me?"
Meanwhile, Bruno was in his temporary office plotting his revenge. Maya's discovery of the documents had ruined his plans, and now he needed to find a way to discredit her before she could cause more damage. "Roberto," he said into the phone, "I need your help with something, and it has to be today." "What do you want me to do?" "We're going to take care of this Maya once and for all." An hour later, Bruno put his plan into action. He waited until Maya went to the restroom, leaving her bag in the staff locker room. Quickly, he slipped an envelope of cash into her bag and left. When Maya returned, Bruno was waiting with 2 security guards and several witnesses. "Maya Lopez," he said loudly, drawing the attention of all nearby employees. "I need to search your bag." "What? Why?" Maya asked, confused. "We received a report that money was stolen from the front desk cash register," Bruno lied, "and you were seen near the area." "This is ridiculous. I didn't steal anything." "Then you won't mind if we check," Bruno said, signaling to one of the guards. Furious but confident in her innocence, Maya handed over her bag. Her heart sunk when the guard pulled out an envelope of cash. "That's not mine," she shouted. "Someone planted that there." "Of course it's not yours," Bruno said sarcastically. "You just stole it from the resort." The employees nearby started whispering. Some looked shocked, others doubtful. Maya felt the world spinning around her. "I swear I didn't steal this money. Someone is framing me." "Maya," Bruno said with fake sadness, "I'm very disappointed. I thought you were an honest employee."
"I am honest," Maya cried, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Take her away," Bruno ordered the guards, "and call the police." At that moment, Ju appeared, drawn by the commotion. He saw Maya surrounded by guards, clearly panicked, and Bruno wearing an expression of false indignation. "What's going on?" he asked in Korean. Maya looked at him with desperation. "They're saying I stole money, but I didn't. Someone put it in my bag." Ju immediately understood and turned to Bruno. "Explain what's happening," he said in English, his voice sharp. "Mr. Han," Bruno began, "I'm sorry you had to see this, but we discovered that Maya stole money from the resort. We found the evidence in her bag." Ju looked at Maya, then at the money, then back at Bruno. "Are you absolutely sure she stole this?" "The evidence speaks for itself," Bruno said, clearly pleased with himself. Ju stepped closer to Maya, who was trembling with anger and humiliation. "Maya," he said in Korean, "look me in the eyes and tell me, did you steal this money?" "No," Maya answered firmly. "I would never do that." Ju studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you." He turned to face Bruno and all the gathered employees. "This woman," he said loudly, taking Maya's hand, "is the most honest person I've met in years." Bruno tried to argue. "Mr. Han, the evidence, Ju cut in. "But character can't be faked." He raised Maya's hand and in front of everyone, gently kissed it. "She's the only reason I'm still here," he said clearly, making sure everyone heard him. The lobby fell completely silent. Maya felt tears roll down her cheeks, but this time they were tears of gratitude and relief. Bruno went pale, realizing his plan had completely fallen apart. "Mr. Han," he tried again, "even so, the resort's rules, Ju said coldly, "will now be decided by me, and the first rule is that Maya Lopez is under my personal protection." He turned to the security team. "Release her immediately." Then, looking straight at Bruno, "And I want a full investigation into how that money ended up in her bag. Something tells me we're going to find some very interesting things." Bruno swallowed hard, realizing he had seriously underestimated both Maya and Ju. Maya looked at Ju, still holding his hand, and knew that no matter how much she tried to keep her distance, their lives were now deeply connected. "Thank you," she whispered in Korean. "Always," he replied, and Maya felt that maybe, just maybe, she truly belonged in his world after all. The next morning, Ju called an emergency meeting with the resort's entire board of directors. Maya was nervous, knowing this would be the moment to reveal all the evidence she had collected. The conference room was full. The general manager, Roberto, 2 board members from Mexico City, and Bruno, who was trying to keep a confident look despite everything. "Gentlemen," Ju began in Spanish, surprising everyone with his fluency, "I've called this meeting to discuss serious issues we've uncovered in the resort's management." Bruno tried to interrupt. "Mr. Han, if this is about the baseless accusations from yesterday, it's about systematic financial fraud," Ju cut him off sharply. "Maya, please present the evidence." Maya took a deep breath and stood up, connecting her phone to the projector. Her hands shook a little, but her voice was steady. "During my investigation, I found 2 sets of accounting books," she began, showing the first photos. "These are the reports given to Mr. Han showing healthy profits." She moved to the next image. "And these are the real reports found in Mr. Bruno's office, showing the resort has been losing money for 8 straight months." There was a murmur around the room. The general manager leaned forward, studying the images closely. Maya went on, her confidence growing. "I also found proof of unauthorized transfers to personal accounts, fake expenses created to hide money going out, and most seriously," she showed the photo of the contract with Ju's forged signature, "a contract prepared ahead of time with Mr. Han's signature forged, meant to transfer funds without his actual approval." The room went dead silent. Bruno was pale, but tried to fight back. "These images could have been faked. This woman broke into my office." "Mr. Bruno," the general manager interrupted, "are you saying this evidence is false?" "I'm saying she had no right to be in my office." Ju calmly stood. "Maya," he said in Korean, "translate exactly what I'm going to say." Maya nodded. Tell the board I hired an independent auditing firm to verify this information. Their findings came in this morning and confirm everything Maya has shown. Maya translated, and Bruno looked visibly shaken. Also, my legal team is already preparing the documents to involve both Mexican and Korean authorities in this investigation. When Maya finished translating, the general manager turned to Bruno with a stern expression. Mr. Bruno Martinez, you are suspended from all duties effective immediately while a full investigation is carried out. Bruno stood up suddenly, his polite mask finally slipping. You're all going to regret this, he said, looking directly at Maya, especially you. The threat was clear, and Maya felt a chill run down her spine. Mr. Martinez, Ju said coldly, I suggest you choose your next words very carefully. Bruno stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him, and Maya knew that she had just made a dangerous enemy.
After the meeting, Ju and Maya walked quietly through the resort's garden. The air was tense, and Maya could feel that Ju had something important to say. You were amazing today, he finally said in Korean. The way you presented the evidence, how clear and brave you were, it was impressive. Thank you, Maya replied, but her voice sounded distant. Are you worried about Bruno's threat? A little, she admitted. Men like him don't take defeat easily. Ju stopped walking and turned to face her. Maya, can I ask you something personal? Sure. How did you learn Korean so well? You're not just fluent, you sound almost native. That's really rare for someone who taught themselves. Maya hesitated for a moment, then decided to be honest. My father was Korean. Ju raised his eyebrows in surprise. Was? Yes, Maya sighed. He met my mother while working in Mexico for a short time. They had a relationship, but when she got pregnant, he went back to Korea and never contacted her again. And you never tried to find him? I don't even know his real name. My mom only knew the nickname he used here, but she used to tell me stories about Korean culture, and when I grew up, I got interested in learning the language. It felt like a way to connect with the part of me I've never known. Ju stayed silent for a long moment, taking it in. That's why you have such a natural feel for the language, and maybe why we understand each other so well. You have Korean blood. Half Korean, half Mexican, and not fully belonging to either world. Maya, Ju said gently, you can belong to any world you choose. There was something in the way he said it that made Maya's heart race. What do you mean? Ju took a deep breath as if making a big decision. I've decided to extend my stay in Mexico. This investigation will take weeks, and I want to oversee it myself to make sure justice is served. That's a good decision, Maya replied, trying to keep her voice neutral. And I want you to keep working as my assistant during the entire process. Of course, I'll be available. Ju stopped again and turned to look at her directly. Maya, he said, his voice full of emotion. When all this is over, I want to take you to Seoul with me. Maya was stunned. She stood still, not knowing what to say. Ju? Don't give me an answer now, he said quickly. Just think about it. You could see the country your father came from, work with my company, have opportunities you might never have imagined. And leave my mom, my life here? Your mom could visit any time she wanted, or even move too if she'd like. Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. Why would you do this for me? Ju stepped closer and gently took her hands. Because in just a few days, you've changed the way I see everything. Because you've shown me what it really means to trust someone. And because... He paused. Because I'm falling in love with you, Maya Lopez. His words hung in the air between them. Maya felt like her world had turned upside down. Ju? Don't have to say anything now, he repeated.
Just promise you'll think about it." Maya looked into his eyes and saw honesty, hope, and a kind of love she never expected to find. "I will think about it," she finally whispered. And as they walked back to the resort, Maya knew her life had changed forever. The question now was whether she'd be brave enough to embrace that change. In the days that followed Ju's proposal, Maya found herself constantly deep in thought. The idea of going to Korea felt like an impossible dream and a frightening reality. While working, she and Ju maintained a professional tone, but there was a new closeness in how they spoke to each other, as if they were both trying to find their way through unfamiliar territory. One afternoon, while they were going over documents in the meeting room, Ju noticed Maya staring out the window, lost in thought. "Are you okay?" he asked in Korean, setting the papers aside. Maya looked up, realizing she hadn't been seeing anything outside at all. "Sorry, I was just thinking about Korea, among other things. It's hard to picture a life completely different from the one I've always known." Ju leaned forward slightly. "Tell me about your dreams, Maya. What have you always wanted to do, but never thought possible?" The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked about her dreams before. "Well," she began hesitantly, "I've always dreamed of traveling, seeing the world, learning about different cultures, and maybe working with languages professionally. As a translator maybe, or as a teacher. I've always thought it would be amazing to help people connect across language barriers." Ju smiled. "You know, my company has an entire department dedicated to international communication, and we're always looking for people with your talent and passion." Maya felt a wave of excitement, quickly followed by doubt. "Ju, you can't just create opportunities for me because there's something between us." "Maya," he said seriously, "I didn't get where I am by mixing business with personal feelings. If I'm offering this, it's because you genuinely deserve it." The sincerity in his voice made Maya's heart race. "And what about my mom? This is the only life she knows." "Your mom works 2 jobs to support both of you, doesn't she? In Korea, with the salary you'd earn, she could stop working if she wanted, or find something that truly makes her happy." Maya had never thought about it that way before.
They walked to the resort's Japanese garden, a quiet corner with ornamental stones, a small bridge over an artificial pond, and flowers that bloomed even during Mexico's driest season. This garden was designed by a Korean landscaper, Jihu explained. He managed to bring a piece of Asia here to Mexico, adapting local plants to create something completely new, yet still true to its original essence. Maya understood the metaphor instantly. "You're saying I could be like these plants?" "I'm saying beauty and strength can flourish anywhere, as long as they have the right care and conditions." They stopped on the bridge, gazing at the moon's reflection on the water. The night was warm, with a soft breeze carrying the scent of tropical flowers mixed with a delicate aroma of Asian plants. "Maya," Jihu said softly, "can I make a confession?" "Of course." "I've never felt so at ease with anyone before. With you, I can just be myself. Not the CEO, not the billionaire, just Jihu." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. "You make me feel different too, like I could be more than I ever thought possible." Jihu turned fully toward her, his hands gently cupping her face. "Maya Lopez," he said in a low voice, "you've made me believe again that some things in life are worth more than money or success." "Jihu?" This time when he leaned in to kiss her, Maya didn't pull away. The kiss was soft, tender, full of unspoken promises and shared hopes. When they parted, both were smiling. "This changes everything, doesn't it?" Maya whispered. "It changes everything," Jihu agreed.
And I don't mind one bit. They stayed wrapped in each other's arms under the stars, and for the first time since they'd met, Maya allowed herself to truly imagine a future with him. While Maya and Jihu shared their romantic moment in the garden, Bruno was putting his revenge plan into motion. Using a master key he had kept even after his suspension, he broke into Jihu's suite. Bruno knew exactly what he was looking for: the confidential documents Jihu had brought about his other investments, information that could be sold to competitors or used for blackmail. He found Jihu's laptop open on the desk and quickly inserted a flash drive, copying important files. He also photographed physical documents spread across the desk, including contracts and highly confidential business strategies. "Let's see who gets the last laugh," Bruno muttered as he finished copying the files. Before leaving, he carefully planted evidence to implicate Maya in the theft. Strands of her hair he had collected from the staff locker room, a pen she often used, and even a photo of her he had taken from her personnel file. The next morning, Jihu was having breakfast when his phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello," he answered in Korean. "Mr. Han," the voice was male but disguised, "I have important information about a theft in your suite." "What theft?" Jihu frowned. "Check your confidential documents, and when you see what's missing, know that it was your assistant Maya who did it." "That's ridiculous. She has access to your suite. She knows your schedule, and she's desperate for money. Check your files, Mr. Han. The truth is there." The call ended. Jihu rushed to his suite and immediately noticed that his laptop had been moved. When he checked his files, he saw that important documents had been copied. Even worse, he found Maya's hair near the computer and her pen on the desk. For a moment, Jihu felt like the room was spinning. The evidence was too convincing to ignore, but then he remembered their kiss the night before. The honesty in Maya's eyes, everything they had shared. "No," he said out loud to the empty room. "This doesn't make sense." But the doubt had already been planted, and Jihu knew he had to confront Maya about what he'd found, even if it meant destroying everything between them. Bruno's trap was working perfectly. The next morning,
2 hours later, Maya was in the general manager's office handing in her resignation letter. "Are you sure about this, Maya?" the director asked. "We know you're innocent of the previous accusations, and Mr. Han spoke very highly of your work." "I'm sure," Maya said firmly. "I can't keep working in a place where my integrity is constantly being questioned." "But Mr. Han said it was just a misunderstanding between the two of you." "Some misunderstandings can't be undone," Maya replied. When Ju heard about the resignation, he rushed to find Maya, but she was already gone. He felt devastated, realizing too late that he'd made a terrible mistake. Over the next 3 days, Ju could barely focus on anything. He went over the situation again and again, and the more he thought about it, the less sense it made to believe that Maya had stolen from him. She had risked everything to protect him before. Why would she betray him now? That's when he decided to investigate on his own. He started by reviewing the resort's internal security cameras, something he hadn't done at first because he trusted the physical evidence. What he found made him furious with himself. The footage clearly showed Bruno entering his suite the night of the theft, leaving with a flash drive, and worse, deliberately planting Maya's hair and her pen near the computer. Further investigation revealed that Bruno had taken those items from the staff locker room days earlier. There were even audio recordings of Bruno making the anonymous call accusing Maya. Ju was crushed. Not only had Bruno fooled him, but he had also betrayed the trust of the one person who truly cared about him. And now Maya had disappeared. Ju spent 2 days searching for her throughout the city. Finally, one of her former co-workers mentioned seeing her working at a small roadside cafe on the way to the neighboring town. He drove there and found the place, a simple little cafe with a few tables and a view of the mountains.
Maya was outside cleaning the large glass windows, wearing a plain uniform and her hair tied back in a ponytail. Ju parked and watched her for a moment. Even doing such a simple job, there was a quiet dignity about her that he admired. She worked with care and attention to detail, treating even this basic task with respect. When Maya saw him, she stopped cleaning and just looked at him with no expression. Ju walked toward her slowly. "Maya," he said in Korean, "please let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," she replied, going back to cleaning the window. "You made your feelings perfectly clear." "I was wrong, completely wrong." "Yes, you were." "Bruno planted the evidence. I have the security footage to prove it." Maya stopped cleaning again but didn't turn around. "How long did it take you to find that out?" 3 days, Ju admitted, ashamed. 3 days to realize something you should have known from the first second, that I would never betray you. Ju stepped closer. "Maya, I'm so sorry. I have no excuse for what I did. I let fear and suspicion drown out what I knew in my heart." And now Maya finally turned to face him. "You expect me to just forget it happened and pretend everything's fine?" "I want the chance to earn back your trust," Ju said sincerely. "I know I don't deserve it, but..." "You're right, you don't," Maya interrupted. The words stung, but Ju knew he deserved them. "Maya," he said softly, "you taught me how to see what's hidden. You showed me that the most valuable people are often the ones no one notices. And I was too blind to see that the most valuable person in my life was right in front of me." Maya felt tears forming but held them back. "Nice words, Ju, but trust doesn't get rebuilt with speeches." "Then tell me what I need to do," he begged. "Tell me how to fix this." Maya looked at him for a long moment, seeing the pain in his eyes but still feeling the deep hurt inside her own heart. "I don't know if it can be fixed," she finally said. "Some things once broken are never the same again." Ju felt his heart shatter, but nodded, understanding that his actions had consequences. "I understand," he said. "But Maya, I love you, and I'll keep loving you even if you can never forgive me." With that, he turned and walked back to his car, leaving Maya standing there with tears in her eyes and a broken heart, knowing he had lost the one thing that truly mattered. A week after their meeting at the cafe, Maya was wiping down tables when she noticed unusual activity on the road. Several cars were heading toward that small place, including a local news van, and her heart raced when she recognized Ju's car among them. Ju stepped out of the vehicle with a small group that included the resort's general manager, some employees Maya recognized, journalists, and surprisingly, a man she didn't know carrying simultaneous translation equipment. "Maya Lopez, I need to make a public statement," Ju said loudly in Korean, making sure everyone could hear. "Maya Lopez, I need to make a public statement." Maya stopped what she was doing, confused and a little irritated by all the commotion. "What are you doing, Ju?" Ju responded in Korean, and the interpreter relayed his words. "I am apologizing publicly so that everyone knows Maya Lopez is the most honest, brave, and honorable woman I have ever met." Then, in front of everyone, Ju knelt down in front of the cafe. The words that followed, carefully translated, echoed for all the cafe staff, curious customers, and the resort team who had come to witness it. "I need everyone to fully understand what I am saying," Ju spoke, pausing for the interpreter to keep up. "Maya Lopez saved my investment, exposed a fraud that could have harmed hundreds of people, and risked everything to protect the truth. And I repaid her by doubting her at the first sign of trouble." Maya felt her face grow warm with all eyes on her, but she also felt tears forming as she heard the sincerity in his voice. "Ju, get up, you're making a scene." "I need to make a scene because I need everyone to know that I made the biggest mistake of my life by doubting you." He turned to the cameras, speaking as the interpreter ensured everyone understood. "Maya Lopez is more than an exemplary employee. She is a person of exceptional character who deserves recognition and respect." Ju stood and stepped closer to Maya. His next words were carefully translated. "Maya, will you come back? Not as my assistant, but as the resort's director of international communication, with the salary, benefits, and recognition you deserve." The offer caught her completely off guard. "Director?" The general manager stepped forward, speaking directly in Spanish. The board approved it unanimously. After reviewing everything you've done, we recognize that you deserve far more than praise. You deserve a career." Maya looked around, seeing familiar faces of co-workers who had come to support her, CCTV cameras recording everything, and Ju watching her with hope in his eyes. "And Bruno?" she asked. "In jail," Ju answered through the interpreter. "Mexican authorities arrested him yesterday for fraud and forgery. The camera evidence was more than enough." Maya took a deep breath, feeling as if a huge weight had been lifted off her shoulders. "All right," she said at last. "I accept the position." The small group erupted in applause. Cafe staff smiled and clapped as well, and Maya saw tears of relief in Ju's eyes.
3 months later, Maya was in her new office at the resort, reviewing international partnership contracts when Ju appeared at the door. "Director Lopez, do you have a few minutes for your CEO?" Maya smiled. Over the past months, they had slowly rebuilt their friendship and professional trust, but both had carefully avoided any romantic topics. "Of course, Mr. Han. What can I do for you?" Actually, Ju stepped inside and closed the door. "This isn't about work." Maya raised her eyebrows. "No, Maya." Ju walked up to her desk. "Will you have dinner with me tonight? Not as co-workers, but as two people who would like to start over." Maya's heart sped up. They had been circling around this possibility for weeks. "Ju, I know I've made terrible mistakes," he said quickly. "I know I broke your trust and it will take time to earn it back. But would you be willing to give me a second chance? A real chance this time?" Maya looked at him, seeing sincerity and vulnerability in his eyes. "Where?" "It's a surprise." Ju smiled, "but I promise it will be special." That evening, Maya was taken to a private beach at the resort that had been transformed into a fairy tale setting. Soft lights illuminated a table set on the sand. Flower petals created a path to the ocean, and gentle music played from hidden speakers. "Ju," Maya's eyebrows rose. "Beautiful." "You deserve beautiful things," he said, pulling out her chair. During dinner, they talked like they used to, but with a new kind of depth. Ju spoke about how he had reflected on his mistakes, how he had learned to value honesty and loyalty even more. Maya shared how she had grown both professionally and personally over the past few months. "Maya," Ju said as they finished eating, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you still think about going to Korea?" Maya smiled. "Every day, but now for different reasons." "What kind of different?" "Before, it was about running away from my life. Now it would be about starting a new adventure with the right person." Ju reached across the table and took her hand. "Maya Lopez, would you like to be my girlfriend?" Maya laughed, her cheeks turning pink. "Are you officially asking me to be your girlfriend?" "I'm asking you to be a part of my life in every possible way." "Yes," Maya said without hesitation. "Yes, I do." Ju stood up and kissed her gently with the sound of the waves behind them and stars shining above. "I love you, Maya Lopez." "I love you, Ju Han." A small child came up and offered her a handful of petals, saying in Korean, "For the pretty bride." Maya knelt down and thanked her in perfect Korean, making the little girl beam with happiness. "She's going to make an amazing Korean," Ju laughed, watching Maya interact so naturally with everyone around her. "I'm already halfway there, and now I'm going to be completely yours." They walked hand in hand under the cherry blossom tunnel, petals still gently falling around them, knowing they had found something rare and precious, a love that went beyond cultures, social classes, and any obstacle the world could put in their way.
What did you think of Maya and Ju's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. And take a moment to check out more touching stories by clicking right here on the end.